Okay, she's on.
Hello.
Hi, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sissy. Thank you.
Oh, we are getting better.
I'm trying.
You'll be fine, don't worry. You'll be fine.
I'm still sorry I can't show my face.
I understand. That's okay.
Hello, Anita. Hello, everybody. Hello, Bernie. Hello, Something. Hello, Gabriel.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yourself?
Long time, mate.
I know, right?
Yeah, the real Sandra. Good evening.
Good evening, my professor. How are you?
Fine. The real one. It's fine.
Oh my God. All right.
Hope you're all looking forward to Christmas.
Don't know.
You're not?
Not really. I'm not a Christmas person, honestly.
Oh, you're not? Oh. I'm actually the opposite.
You're just not feeling the Christmas.
It's not the same. You know, when you're back home, it's completely different. But over here,
Oh no, you can't compare that. There's no way you can compare that to here.
Well, there you go.
Absolutely no way.
Well, there you go then. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings on that.
Oh well, I make the best out of every situation. So
Of course, back in the UK, it's almost the same as Ghana anyway. So when I was over there, it was great because. But
you know what?
You
know what we're gonna do? One of these days, we're all gonna plan and go to Ghana for Christmas.
Well, we'll see.
We'll
I'm
see.
actually halfway there anyway.
Are you?
Of course.
All right.
There anyway.
Oh, that's good.
All right, so I welcome you all officially to the Nayado show, and I'm so happy, I'm glad to have you here for us to discuss very important topic. First of all, I'll have to introduce myself as your host, Nanaya Ampemda Kwaochre. And then we're going to talk about spousal killings, which has really become a menace in our society. But before we go into details, I will leave my panel members to introduce themselves. We are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter and YouTube as well. I will leave my panel members to introduce themselves to our audiences, and then we take it from there. This time around, we are not going to do the norm, ladies first. Maybe we have to start with the gentlemen. So who will start? Among Dr. Benny and Gabriel and Wilson.
Right, so my name is Gabriel Osei Jr., and I'm a communications and corporate governance expert. I would call myself one because it's been my area since my uni days. So yes, I'm glad to be on the show.
Thank you. Dr. Benny and Wilson.
I'll go. It's okay. I'll go. Hi, everybody. I'm Bernie. I'm a strategist, a coach, a mentor, an adjunct professor. Mainly delves in finance, risk management, change management. I'm also a personal life mentor. I coach a lot of people. So I'm actually glad that Nanaya called me to get on here, because I think the last time we had with Sandra, almost similar to what we're going to talk about, but it was a great wealth of knowledge from everybody on the panel. So hopefully that's what we're going to get today. So that's me in short. Thank you.
You're welcome. It falls automatically
All
on
right.
Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, thank you.
Hi,
Good
Wilson.
evening, everyone. My
Position yourself well.
I'm an organizational development strategist, excited to be on the show. And that's...
Hi, Wilson. Can you please position yourself well? We can barely hear you.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, this is better. Please, you can go on.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is, and what a privilege to be collaborating. Wow.
All right, so maybe we should go to Anita and Sandra, and then we come back to Wilson. I think it's network. Wilson, we'll come back to you, please. Anita, please, can you?
All right, okay, I need to go then I'll go on.
Hi,
All right,
Anita.
okay. I'll start and then she can come on. Probably she can't hear you properly.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, okay. So my name is Sandra, as you all know. I'm a relationship strategist and a coach. I'm an event consultant. I'm a wife and mother. I'm a wife to one husband, and I'm a mother to three daughters.
That's beautiful.
I love everything about relationships. I eat, breathe, think relationships. I'm a counselor. Let me use that word. I'm a certified counselor. I'm also a women motivational speaker. Bernie has lived in the UK, so he would know what a J9 is. So I'm also a J9 trained domestic abuse advisor, an advocate as well against domestic violence and hate crime. I wear so many hats, but this evening we'll just limit it to this because we're going to talk about something to do with that kind of area. So we'll just limit it to that. And next time when it's something else, we'll bring something else on board. Sorry about my voice. I'm a bit unwell, so I might be going sorry, that kind of a thing, but just bear with me.
That's okay. Thank you so much. Anita, please, can you hear us?
Okay, now I can hear.
Sure.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. So, hi, listeners and co-hosts. So my name is Anita Samoa. I am a public health professional and advocate, and I do more of research, public advocacy, and empowerment, or let me say women empowerment, and stuff like that. So that's Anita.
All right, thank you all so much for your nice introduction. It's very important we do introduce ourselves. This will help our audiences in case they need any services from any of us. It will make it more easier. The topic we're going to discuss today is very, very important. It's important because it's really becoming a problem in our society, especially current times. And so I think we're talking about it will raise some sort of awareness. It will also educate the public to know how best we can help issues of such. When we are talking of intimate partner violence, in fact, if you pick 3 out of every 10 women, in a lifetime, we can say that you will get partner violence, intimate partner violence. Or if you pick 3 out of every 10 households, you can report intimate partner violence. Some scholars even say that if you globally, about 13.5% of these crimes involve intimate partners. It could be a boyfriend, it could be a husband, it could be a wife. And this is really becoming a problem in our societies. And that is why it has become very essential for us to discuss this topic today. We're going to benefit our audiences, we're going to benefit a lot of people who are going through it. And they will also do well to handle it well in case they face any issue of the sort. I think we have few people who have joined us in this studio. We have Madame Patience Bodi. We welcome you to the show, ma'am. Okay, I think she couldn't hear us. So, all right, so back to our topic, spousal killings. How did we get here as a society? Before we start, we would want to know what spousal killing is. When you talk about spousal killing, what actually are we talking about? We're also going to talk about some underlying factors that are really causing these menace in our society. We will address issue of media coverage, whether the coverage of such violence or such murders in our society exhibits some sort of bias which accounts for increasing rate of spousal killings or intimate partner violence in our societies. So first of all, I will just leave it to my panel members to tell us what spousal killing is. I would want to start with Sandra. I'll do ladies first now. So when you talk of spousal killings, how do we want our audiences to understand that?
Okay, so in layman's language, when we talk of a spouse, the spouse is somebody that you're married to, becomes a spouse. When we talk of a partner, partner is somebody that somebody you're not married to, but in a committed relationship. But because we're using spousal, spousal is somebody that you're married to. So it could be either a man or a woman is your spouse, once you're married to them. So if we're talking of spousal killing, in layman's language, is killing of your spouse, which is either the husband or the wife. So in a layman's language, that is what it means. A spousal killing is a killing of one of the married couple.
All right, thank you. But I'll pose the same question to Gabriel and the other panel members. So we start with Gabriel as well.
Well, thank you very much. And I think Sandra has given us a very apt definition of spousal killings. In other jurisdictions, they'll call it spousal homicide, etc. It's essentially killing your wife or your husband, even though when a woman kills the husband, I think the term that is given to such a scenario is mariticide or mariticide, exactly, whilst that of the man killing the woman is auxoricide. So basically, in a couple's home, whatever it is that causes either of the two partners or either of the two people in that relationship to kill the other person with whatever object, whether it's by bare hands or with a gun, with a knife, any other thing that causes death in the context of marriage between two people. Of course, it could be marriage between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a woman. Either case, when one partner dies at the hands of the other, it is spousal killing.
All right, thank you so much for the explanation. Should we come to Dr. Benny? I think Anita is off.
And I think it's very simple. Both Sandra and I believe it was Gabriel explain actually in much great detail. There isn't so much that I can add to it. What I can say though, when we talk about spouse in itself, to add to what they both said, somebody you're lawfully married to. And when we say lawfully married to, it does not necessarily mean have to be a white wedding, because it depends on what kind of culture you're in. Because certain cultures regard the traditional marriage as the real one, as we know, as African people, if for a better word. So just because you haven't been to the altar or the courts to sign something does not necessarily mean that you're not married to the person. So again, cultures and jurisdictions also dictate who a spouse technically is. And of course, when Gilbert made a good point, because it could be either in heterosexual or same-sex kind of marriage, if you would. And that sort of underpins when we come to killing. I mean, he said it so well. There's so many forms of killing. It could be through objects, it could be even through verbal abuse can lead to killing and stuff like that, which I believe we're going to go into great detail on that. So that's all I can share in terms of adding to what Sandra and Gabriel said. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we lost Anita and Wilson. We are hoping that they will join us very soon. We are live on Facebook, and we will encourage our audiences or our viewers to drop their comments or any question that they would want to ask. Now, the next question that I would like to ask or want us to find answers to is whether some of these killings are usually gendered. Yes. Do we think most of these spousal killings or these homicides are usually gendered?
Let me start, and maybe Sandra can add a bit more to it, and so Gabriel as well. We have a few statistics, that it was actually interesting when I was looking at that. And for the record, I'm only going to speak from the American perspective over here in America. So maybe perhaps Sandra might have a different perspective in the UK and the other people wherever country they're in. So when I was looking at this, surprisingly, as of the date of this particular research, there's about 2 million women who have been kind of like victims, right, of this whole domestic violence that potentially leads to kind of death. And out of that 2 million, 800,000 were men. There's 800,000 of them, were men. And usually we talk about women being the victims the more. I don't know if that becomes a perception of people. I think that when you look at history, that's what history depicts. But men also go through abuse, which obviously leads to spousal killings. There's been, so many women that have also endangered and caused harm to their spouses, men, from that perspective that has led to that. But the bulk of it, comes from women being at the end of this kind of abuse that leads to the killing. And just quite recently, not so recent because it's been there, maybe we'll touch on that, but people of the same sex have also been through and still going through that because, quote unquote, same-sex marriage is seen as a dysfunctional relationship. And I mean, Sandra, you can hold me honest on this one, right? Because it's not something that society has fully and wholly embraced, right? And so there are things that lead to these kind of things, and I think we'll talk about, but there is definitely a gender balance with women being more predominant of the gender that are meted out to this kind of spousal killings. But let's not be fooled, because men are also being killed through spousal abuse.
All right, thank you so much. Sandra, do you share the same view, or you have any other thing to share?
No, not really. I think I'll just add to what he said. I think it's quite similar to UK and to America as well when it comes to spousal killing, because usually there's always a trigger, and because Shush, sorry, my daughter was singing, because most of the time, the women are the receiving end. And so when they get to the breaking point, there's always a trigger that makes them to kill these men. Over the last couple of months or last few months, I think when the whole world went into this pandemic stuff and people were at home, if you listen to the news or when you go through the statistics, I was actually trying to go through my notes for 2020, and it's actually increased in the UK by 1.7% of abuse and spousal killing, which I think is, I'm just looking at the numbers and I'm thinking, is it really right? But it's possible that is right. It's increased by 1.7% when women actually kill the men. And it is it is assumed that it's because they were being battered or they were being abused at home, and they thought the only way out is just to kill the spouse. And so that I really agree with what Bernie said. And because, hold on a minute, please, bear with me. I'm really sorry. I'm a very terrible cold.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. So, yeah, so I'd like to add to what Bernie said. When we talk of same-sex marriage, society hasn't really accepted it, and so it is honestly very, 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 very not normal. And so, sorry, I'm laughing, but I had a similar case on Friday of same-sex abuse, and it just
Wow.
yeah, it's just very, very disgusting at the moment. I mean, really bad abuse. Yeah. So I agree with Bernie. I really agree that most of these guys are the receiving end of the women that have gotten to the point where they can't take it anymore. And so they snap at it. I think it was in the news. I'm not sure how many of you listen to Sky News, but I think it was the last Wednesday or Thursday where a 64-year-old woman killed his 67 or 68-year-old husband because she thinks she's had enough of the abuse and she couldn't take it anymore. And the only way out was that she kills him. And then after that, she calls the police and said, "This is what I've done, take me in." And so it is, when you think about it, it's horrible, but there's always a trigger. And I really don't believe that the end of it should be the murder. But unfortunately, that is where the mind takes a lot of people.
All right, thank you so much. Anita and Madam Patient, we welcome you all back to the show. We're discussing spousal killings. And initially we talked about what spousal killing is. Now we are asking whether the issue is usually gendered. Most of these cases, are they usually gendered? Sandra and Dr. Benny shared their version of it, possibly from the perspective of the Westerners. We would like to come to Mr. Gabriel Osei to tell us what the situation is like in Ghana here as well.
Thank you very much, Nania. I think that this issue is not peculiar to the Western world. In fact, in Africa, West Africa and Ghana to be precise, we've had an increase in these incidents. I think the most recent one happened in the Volta region, where a young man murdered his partner and kept him in the freezer in the house. In 2013, we had an upsurge of spousal murders, accounting for about 53 of the total murder cases in that particular year. It is interesting to note that just recently, one criminologist, Mr. John Sopokuwari, revealed that this year alone, we have recorded 306 murders, out of which a substantial number had to do with spousal murder. And most importantly, you had more of the women dying than of the men dying. However, it is important to look at the issue critically in the sense that I think Sandra mentioned a case about the 67-year-old killing the 68-year-old or something like that. I mean, these are people who have lived most of their lives together. So what are the triggers? What are the incidents that lead to some of these things? Ghana is bound to record more of these incidents as the years and the days go by, if urgent measures are not put in place. So yes, it is on the rise, and we need to do something about it, talk about it, and see how best we can nip this in the bud.
Thank you so much. Anita, do we still have you here? Anita, can you hear us? Hello, Anita. Anita, can you hear us? Anita, can you unmute yourself and please talk? Okay, I think, I don't know whether we've lost Anita. She's on, but it doesn't seem like she can hear whatever we are saying. All right, so this is Nayado's show. We are still discussing spousal killings. And we have in the studio Dr. Benny, we have Sandra, we have Gabriel, and we have Miss Anita Asamoah. We've just lost Anita. All right, so I think now you tackle part of the question that I will want to ask. Most of the times we go to weddings, we all go to weddings and we look at how beautiful the whole setting is. At the time they are saying I do, everybody is smiling. You see that kind of joy in their face. What at all would trigger or what at all will push a man or a woman to say that I would want to take the life of my partner? Is there any reason, or is the reason justified enough? What will push someone to say, I mean, I'm tired, I just have to kill this person? Okay. Can we start with Sandra again? I think Anita is back. Hello, Anita. Anita, can you hear us? Hello, Anita. All right, I think we can still go on. So what are actually the underlying factors contributing to these spousal killings that we experience in our societies? I would want to start with Sandra.
It is to do with abuse. And abuse isn't only the physical
Maybe,
one.
sorry, maybe from women's perspective, what would trigger a woman? What will cause a woman to say, I want to kill my husband or my partner?
Yeah, that is what I said, that the initial thing will probably be, or 99.9% has to do with abuse. And abuse isn't only just the physical. We've got the emotional, the verbal, the coerciveness. I mean, abuse is very broad. And so when somebody is being abused for a very long time and they get to the point where they can't take it anymore, anything and everything becomes like an exit route. It's just like you shaking a Coca-Cola bottle. You shake it to the point where you can see it fizzing. So when you take the top off, what happens is that the whole thing fizzes out. And so when a lot of women have bottled in so much emotions and pain and hurt, they think that the only way out during an argument, or sometimes even they kill these men in their sleep because they think this is my only way out. And I don't know if you've heard about the battered woman syndrome, where if you've reported abuse over and over and over again, when these things happen and the case is being taken to court, these things are being analyzed to see even the psychological idea behind why the person did that, or the mental state of the woman at the time of committing that crime. And so most of the time it is to do with the pain they've endured, is to do with the suffering they've endured, they've been through. And since starting Real Talk, I've kind of like engaged a lot of Africans, especially Kenyans, where they're being told that even if you're in an abusive marriage, you still keep quiet and you stay. And so they don't really think they have an option to walk away. They endure it, oh, God knows how many years. And so for somebody like that, if they get to the point where they can't take it anymore, they think the end result is, you know what, I'd rather kill you. If I go to jail, I go to jail. If whatever happens, happens, you know. And so there's always something, there's always an underlying issue as to why a woman would try to kill her husband. Other than that, unless when you watch these Nigerian movies where you see women killing their husbands just because they want to enjoy the man's wealth. Yes, but in the real world, it's not because they want to enjoy the wealth, but because they want to break away from the pain. They want to break away from the emotional torture that they've been through all those years.
Wow. That's really detailed. It's very interesting. Gabriel, what do you say?
Yes. Well, I think that one of the most common motives behind a man's action of committing murder or killing his wife has to do with anger. A lot of people have anger issues which have not been resolved. They've not been to a psychologist or through any anger management course and all that. So when it builds up to a certain extent, and of course there may be underlying factors why a man would angrily, through anger, act that way. But anger is one. The next one I can talk about is fear of abandonment and loss. When you perceive that you are losing your wife and that she is either thinking of leaving you or probably seeing someone else, that fear drives some of these men to do what they do. You can link that to sexual jealousy. And this is something that is pervasive. But then, according to data from the Domestic Violence Unit of the Ghana Police Service, we can group some of these reasons into about 3 and 4. We have traditional beliefs that help perpetrate violence against women. We have the fact that economically most women in Ghana seem to be dependent on their husbands or their male partners. We can also look at some customary practices that perpetuate these acts. And maybe with time, we can go into some of these things, because when we accept gender stereotyping, which justifies violence, that men are entitled to control women, and so women must submit to men. When we accept these things, ultimately, it leads to some of these things. And so once a woman is not seen as being submissive, seen as being insubordinate, then it is the responsibility of the man to whip her in line. And in so doing, it can lead to some of these things, these murders we are talking about. Also, when society comes to accept that it is the man's responsibility, he has responsibility over the woman, and that anything that happens within the family, within the marriage setting, is a private family matter. You know, these things often deter women who suffer such abuses to even make a report or seek help outside. So these are a number of factors. I believe my other panelists will expound more on some of them are the causes of some of these things we're talking about.
All right, before I go to Dr. Ben, you said something that interests me most. I think recently there was an incident in Ashanti region whereby the husband murdered the wife because she wanted a walk out of the relationship or the marriage.
Yeah.
Can't I just say that I'm tired, maybe I'm not enjoying the marriage anymore? Can't I just walk out? Why should that cause murder in the relationship or the marriage? Why should it be a problem? Why should the men feel they have lost when the woman is leaving? At the time, she doesn't feel comfortable being in the marriage anymore.
Well, like I said, you see, men who kill without reason because of fear of being dumped, I believe have one or two personality styles or disorders that are highly unstable and emotional. And some of these are what we call the borderline type. They feel a sense of entitlement that once you are my wife forever, good or bad, no matter what I do to you, you have to stay. But the moment these women stand up to the men and decide to leave, it triggers these acts in such men. And the next thing you know, there's a murder case. So I think that the forever, for better, for worse thing that some religious groups also propound actually can be identified as one of the reasons why we feel that the women have no right to walk out of the relationship, because we are in this for better or worse. And so if till death do us part, then take the lead. I'll follow later.
In fact, before I come to Dr. Benny, I want Sandra to talk about this. Sandra, is it for better, for worse?
No, not in that sense. For better, for worse doesn't mean I stay till you kill me. It's rather unfortunate. I think when we mean for better, for worse, we only talk about, worse as in the day-to-day norms of a marriage, but not in the setting of abuse. And for me personally, if you're my client or if somebody refers you, or in general terms, I tell you, if you are in an abusive marriage, get out. And sometimes people think I'm a bit too blunt to say get out, but because your life is important. If you're not killed, at the end of the day, you were mad, you're scarred, you have all these emotions going through your life. And so, like Gabriel said, some cultures and certain quarters agree that women should stay because it is for better or for worse. If you are my church member and you're being abused, I will tell you, walk out. It's very important that pastors begin to tell their church members to walk out for their own safety, for their own sanity's sake. Because some of these men or some of these women that are going through these phases, they have insecurity problems. They have, like Gabriel said, they have anger issues. They have borderline. I had a client that had a borderline personality disorder. And so you can imagine when the trigger comes, she can do anything if she's not being treated properly. And so if there's somebody that has this borderline personality disorder, they can do anything, So you get out, find safety. It is not for better or for death. The Bible says, till death do us part. And so you don't stay there until the death comes to part you. Walk out for your own safety's sake. It's very important.
It's very important. You have to work out for your life. This is still Nayada's show. We are discussing spousal killings, and we welcome your contributions. We welcome your ideas. If you have any question, you can drop it at the comment section, and we're going to read it for you. Dr. Benny, the Bible says that it's only fornication or adultery that can separate husband from a wife. You will still talk about the underlying causes of this menace, and still tackle the second phase of it, which talks about whether I have a reason or the man has a reason to live in the face of such abuse.
Oh dear. I think both Gabriel and Sandra nailed it right on the head. And they were very, very specific on on some of these causes that lead to obviously a spousal killing. And to be quite frank with you, I believe there is a myriad of causes. And if we take it even outside for a second, right? Before even the two people got together to try to establish a relationship where they begin to have problems with each other, some people naturally, like Gabriel said, and Sandra also underpinned that, they have a borderline disorder. So that's something that is with them or about them naturally, right? Some of the other things that may surprise you, or perhaps you probably heard about it, things like poverty can give rise to somebody being abusive. You understand? Low self-esteem. Gabriel talked about that. And that's particularly with men. When they find that kind of low self-esteem, and Sandra can hold me honest on this. There's two things that an elderly man told me when it comes to relationships. Women, all they want, you can talk about all the material stuff, but the underlying factor is what they want is love, right? So with that kind of love, it's very close to their heart. And when they feel that area is being encroached upon, and they think about the sacrifices they have made, it could lead to something else that could make them act in a certain type of way. Men, on the contrary, want respect. So Gabriel talked about control, right? Men want control. And of course, Christians say the man is the head of the house or the head of the family, whatever the case may be. It's down to interpretation, right? Because perception is reality. How do you interpret? What do you mean the man is the head? Because you have some homes, the woman brings in 80% of their income to do everything. What does that mean? So again, it's down to how those individuals interpret things like this, to determine, what the case may be. Also, somebody could have a substance abuse. So a person with such a disorder or an issue could literally trigger, certain things, because everybody has their triggering point. And somebody who has a substance abuse can also be somebody who the little thing don't have that emotional maturity, to be able to control their own emotions versus that of the other person, so they can control themselves in the event something happens. Another thing is that some people grew up in abusive homes. So they grew up either watching their mom abusing their father, or their father abusing their mother. So that kind of thing sticks with them. And quite frankly, when you look at most homes, people don't think that is a problem, but that's actually an issue, because it has an impact on that particular child, whether male or female. And again, when we even look at domestic violence in itself, children, teenagers are also part of the people that get abused and get affected by that. Because when they go to school, when they begin to make friends and begin to get into relationships, they start that kind of abusive behavior. That stems from the homes they grew up from, right? So obviously, that is even outside of what they are experiencing in that particular marriage. And for me personally, because recently, over here, I don't know if you guys heard about it, there was a Ghanaian minister in Florida that literally shot the wife, so many times. He actually stalked her to her workplace and literally released the bullets into her, and prior to that, there was conversations. She had the opportunity to leave, right? So I agree with Sandra when she says that, this whole Christian community or faith-based community talks about, they know people are being abused. They come to them and report, but because of whatever doctrines they believe in, they believe that, oh, let's talk it over. But you have to understand that in abusive relationships, in abusive marriages, it aggravates. In music, you say crescendo, it increases, right? So it gets to a point, and the point, or that triggering point, is where they have no control. And and for women, it's either I kill you because I know I cannot get out of this marriage and be free, because there's been so many threats from this man, right? If you leave this house and you go be with somebody else, I'm going to kill you and the other person. So for the fear of their life, they're not even thinking out loud to understand or think through what could happen to them if they take another person's life. They just do it because they are at the point where they can't take it anymore. So, you know, it's so many different things that goes into it. And I think it's culturally based as well and individual based if we want to draw that kind of tree, you know, to break it down. So that's what I would say. And for the second part, when you talk about did you say something about the Bible said it's only fornication? I disagree. I completely disagree. And maybe if my mom is watching, she might be surprised, but I completely disagree that it's not only fornication that should trigger a person to leave a relationship, because at the end of the day, if your life is being endangered, there's no reason for you to stay at all.
I'm with you on that, Bernie. I'm with you on that.
Look, today, if my life is being endangered, trust me, my bags are always packed. So, you know, I will walk out of it. And if that's the reason why perhaps I'm not going to go to heaven, then so be it, right? Because at the end of the day, the same Bible that says that, you know, you shouldn't leave or whatever the case may be, is the same Bible that says if your right hand is bothering you, cut off, right? So if you're in a marriage or relationship that you consistently are being abused, and I think we'll talk about the phases of these abuse, because, you know, there's different phases of it where, you know, the adrenaline sets down and either the man or the woman come back to their senses and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a vicious cycle, right? A vicious cycle over and over. And you think about, why does it happen over and over again? And it's quite interesting that when these things happen, people will say, oh, why didn't you report a long time ago? Why didn't you say something? You know, we have a responsibility as well as a society, and I think we'll come to that as well. So for me, fornication is not the only reason. There are a plethora of reasons. If only you feel your life is at risk, you're in danger of you losing your life, you need to leave. As we say in London, jog on.
Jargon.
All right, thank you, Dr. Benny. I will still come back to you after Anita. You made mention of investments, men always counting their losses, for which reason they wouldn't just allow the woman to walk out even in the face of danger. I'll come back to that. Anita, we welcome you back. We are discussing the underlying factors of these spousal killings. You coming from the health perspective, public health, what would you want to share with us? What are some of the triggers that you think will cause these spousal killings?
Okay, so I wasn't able to start from the beginning, but the first question you asked out, what was it? The
first question was, what is spousal killings?
Okay.
Yes.
And then the second one?
The second one was, I think the second one, we came to reasons why people would just want to take the life of their partners. Do we have reasons enough to take the life of the other partner?
Okay, so the first one, that's what are spousal killings? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
The first question. Okay.
Exactly.
So let me start from that. If you are living with someone or cohabiting with someone over a period of time, the person automatically becomes your spouse, even if you're not married to the person. If it's for a number of years, then the person is your spouse, either a wife or a husband. That is one. And then we have people that are married, but maybe they didn't sign in the court, maybe the African way, customary rights. We have those kind of marriages as well. And so spousal killings are just killings that happen due to one partner killing the other, maybe due to insecurity, or maybe due to selfish reasons, or probably due to mental health issues. So that is that. Then the second one you asked, that what are the reasons that
Before you answer that question, do you think some of these killings are gendered? I think that's one of the questions that was addressed by the panel. Do you think it's gendered?
Okay, yes. So for gender-based violence, mostly the perpetrators are mostly male. So yes, they are gendered. I'm not saying that maybe women don't kill men, or that the female partners don't maybe harm the male partners or kill the male partners, but it is not as common as the male partners, I mean, killing the female partners, or the husbands, or the the husbands killing the wives. But now with the with the broad spectrum we have for the gender, so I'm trying to not to limit it to just male and female. So killings that happen if maybe you are the supposed male in the relationship, maybe you kill your other partner, or if you are the alpha, you killing the other partner. Okay, so it is gendered for me because males are more of the perpetrators, and then mostly females are the victims, but sometimes it happens the other way around. Yeah, so that's that. And then for the reasons, I think a lot of reasons are there, but basically, no matter what the issue is, I think no one has the right to take a life. That is one. So no matter what it is, you don't have to take the life of a person. But the reasons range from financial issues, the infidelity issues, insecurity, a whole lot of things. Sometimes it could even be maybe religious based, because these little problems sometimes start. This problem starts from the latest way, or from the scratch. Maybe you may think these issues are minor, but over time or over the years, they build up in the mind of the person, and then the person has the hatred in his or her heart against you, and just one day it will trigger off, and the person may hit you with something, or just get a gun if the person has access to it, and kill you. You get it? So there are so many reasons, and one can't particularly say this is the major reason, because it depends on the two individuals who are living together. So in our case, in Africa or in Ghana here, mostly is maybe because the man is feeling insecure, or he feels the wife is doing so well, or the partner is doing so well, and so he doesn't want her to maybe be more than him. So all these kind of things trigger them to sometimes become insecure, and as such they would want to harm the other person. Sometimes it may not be killing, but they want to harm you in such a way that you will be maimed, so that maybe whatever you are doing, you wouldn't be able to continue what you are doing, or to achieve your aim in life generally, just to make you become nothing, so that they will be the head, kind of. Yeah. Then you asked another question, sorry. Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry. What was the other question you asked again?
I think those were the questions. You've exhausted them. So before
after Benny spoke, you mentioned something on, is it insecurity also?
Okay, so I think the question that we asked was, that the scripture says, if you're a Christian, the Bible says that it's only adultery that can separate a husband from a wife. Can I just look up and say that I'm being abused by my husband or my wife, so I'm just walking out of the relationship? Would that be a reason?
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, so for that, well, because our people are so religious, and they feel the Bible is the ultimate. So most of them believe in that, and as such, tend to stay in abusive marriages. And this is not helping, because a lot of these issues, the women leaders, they know about them, the pastors, they know about them. Even abuse within the church happens, from maybe the choir masters and the female singers and stuff like that, but they keep quiet over them. And then we have women reporting to these pastors and all that, but then the women leader would always tell you that endure it if you know, he's giving you food to eat, marriage is like that, all those kind of stuff, you know. So the churches are not helping as well, and it is causing a lot of public health issues, because it drives mental health problems. People become depressed, anxious, and a whole lot of things. And if care is not taken, the person may even commit suicide. That's the woman. Because mostly, I'm saying woman because mostly, just like I said, women are the victims. I'm not saying that men, I mean, don't, you know, are not victims sometimes. And so the religious aspect of it, I think the church as a whole has to look into it. They have to let people know that divorce is not bad, and that divorce is an option. So people should be able to separate from their husbands if there are issues, or their wives if there are serious issues, so that there will be peace, or they will be able to live. Because if you continue staying with the person, sometimes it leads to death. But then you say that even sometimes when they leave these partners, at the end of the day, they still die, because the person will tend to track you and still want to kill you, especially where people have access to guns and the rest of them, like in Europe. Though here, people don't have much access to guns, but they have access to knives and the rest of them. The person can, I mean, hit you with a knife or a cutlass and you'll be gone. So the church generally has a whole lot of work to do on that aspect, especially when women report these cases, and rape cases as well. When they are reported, they don't report them to the police. They tend to want to solve them within the families, and as such, it's not helping at all. It is not helping at all. So marriage is not by force. Divorce is always an option. You can leave your husband or your wife at any time if you feel that it is no more safe in the house, or he or she is becoming violent. It is better you leave. And also, when they leave, especially in Ghana here, you should always make it a point that you don't just leave. Always report to the police, so that at least maybe we know that our system is not so sound, but there are, little things they may be able to do. At least maybe restrain the person, give the person some warnings that can, kind of keep the person off your back. Because people just leave sometimes without any formal reports. They don't make any formal report. So you can't even trace anything about it when it happens. So they should leave and make formal reports, not just leaving. Yes, that is it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your nice submission. I wish Mommy was here. Dr. Benny, where is Mommy? Anita said you can leave your marriage. It shouldn't necessarily be adultery or fornication. You can leave your marriage. I wish Mommy was here. We can listen to her part of it. Unfortunately, we've lost her.
Which Mommy?
Your mom. I saw her.
Why did you have to do this, Nana?
I think she's gone. All right, so Dr. Benny, I'm coming back to you. You mentioned investments that most of the times the men think they've made in the marriage, for which reason they will do everything possible to prevent their spouses from leaving the marriage, of which sometimes causes some of these murder. I think marriage is a partnership. Why should one think that he or she has invested so much that the other person is tied to it, and for that reason you cannot leave for whichever reason?
Well, honestly, I don't necessarily mean that a man invests, because like I said, some of these things is individual perspective, right? How the individual interprets even what marriage in itself is, right? And how they need to go about things. And mostly it stems from the foundations. Because sometimes we have to understand this. When people were either boyfriend or girlfriends or courting, right? They had this heated stuff going up all the time, right? But it's something they never checked to try to make sure that it's settled before they got into the marriage. So they take that into the marriage, right? So those things even began way before that. Now, when I'm saying talk about investments, I'm not speaking for men in general, but for the most part, when you've had these abuses, right, from men in particular, not from women, because the women have their own perspective, but from men in particular, when they feel as though they've done something, even if it's the tiniest thing that they did for you, they feel, they believe that is like an anchor, you know, that should hold in that particular relationship or marriage, so you're not allowed to leave. That's the point where I'm coming from, you know. And you're right, it's a partnership thing. And again, people interpret partnership completely different. Why? Because when you say it's partnership, some people can say, okay, fine, if that's the case, we're going to share the responsibilities in the house. I do this, you do that, and, you know, I pay for this, you pay for that. That's not essentially what we're talking about. You know, when we talk about partnership, I think it goes beyond that. It goes beyond the physical aspect, what you see from outside. Is internally, right? Partnership is something internal. Even the way you are able to understand your partner, you know, even by looking at them, you can tell if they're okay or they're not. So partnership is something that grows, something that you build, right? But if that's not there, definitely when these triggers happen, you know, there's no way they're going to have that patience, especially if they have that borderline disorder, you know, and they resort to something that perhaps maybe, like Gabriel said, if they have insecurity, you know, of their wife, maybe
Yeah.
they're so beautiful, right? So them getting out there, they feel very insecure and uncomfortable, you know. So it's either they're tracking them, they're chasing them, sending people to follow her and see what she's doing. Maybe she's not even doing anything, right? And then when something happens and she decides to leave, or she says, I want to leave, then that becomes a tussle. That becomes a bigger issue, a bigger problem. So, you know, you cannot leave, I'm going to tie you down. That's when the locking people in the rooms is, you know, I'm taking your phone away from you. You're not allowed to do this. That's how the abuse starts, because the abuse, you know, is different forms. I think Gabriel talked about that. You know, it could be verbal, it could be so many different ways, but sometimes people don't see that coming, right? But it evaporates, and when it gets to that penultimate, it explodes. And when it explodes, the only way out is killing somebody. That's what I can say.
Wow, thank you so much. I would like to ask this important question. Of course, the media is doing a lot in terms of information, dissemination, and all that. Do we think the way media, both print media and the broadcast media, the way they cover most of these stories, the cases of spousal killings, the way they cover it affects the high rate of these cases?
When you say the way they cover it, be more specific.
I'm talking of the coverage of these cases, maybe some of how these people, or possibly some of the words that they use, whether they gender their reportage or their coverage. Is it in any way affecting the fight against the spousal killings in our society?
Oh, it's difficult to say, you know, but I will go off the tangent on what Gabriel said earlier on. You know, this is something that it's amongst us. It's been there for a long time. So we have to talk about it. Of course, the media needs, because which other way can we propagate the message to show that, look, this is not right? So I believe the media can do a better job, you know, in terms of how they package the message out there, because some people are creatures of habit, right? So they take things face value as is when information comes. So when the media is communicating this information out to the whole world, to the entire public, it has to be packaged in a way that is more informative and educative as well, versus something that may cause some destructive, because sometimes people take the message and say, look, if this person is doing it, I could do it too. I mean, I should do it, because if I find myself in that situation, this, for example, if there is being a spousal killing, right? And when you read the story of it, and I can see myself in that situation, I'm going through the same thing, right? And one way or the other, if I have no control, if I have no emotional maturity or emotional intelligence, I'm just going to take that as good as gold, because the more that is being reported, but it's not in such a way that it's going to be more educative to even talk about the risks involved and the ripple effect when those things happen. I think they just pick the story and throw it out there as is, you know, without having some connotations that are kind of like some warnings to people and how they even can watch these triggers, these signs, and how to go about things. I think it has to be a full package when the media is communicating versus just throwing the story out there like that and leaving it alone.
All right, thank you. Gabriel, sometimes when you read some of these stories, the headlines will read a husband killed a cheating wife. Are the media giving reason enough for husbands killing their wives or wives killing their husbands?
Well, I think I'll take it from where Benny ended. You see, in 2020, the executive director of Rights Ghana, an NGO, called on the media to increase its reportage and advocacy on sexual and gender-based violence issues. This was after a research that churned out some facts that media reportage of these things are quite skewed towards men. It makes it look like the women are at fault for the instances of murder or spousal killings in there. So it is high time that the media uses human interest stories as well as captures the story as it is, whilst also educating. You see, if you capture the story without any hint of educating the public or advising the public on the effects of some of these things, you haven't done much. And the recent one that happened in the Volta region, which was all over the news, they only stated the facts as it were. What advocacy did they do? Nothing. So yes, the media need to do more. When you scan social media, Facebook, etc., and a woman kills the husband or the husband kills women, a cursory look at most of the comments seem to normalize any form of abuse.
Yes.
And when it is the other way around, when it's a woman that has done that, then they tend to cast insinuations and aspersions at the man. How a whole man like you, how could you allow your wife to beat you up? Or how could you allow yourself to be killed by a woman, etc.? These views are very negative. And so it is high time, like I said, that the media up their game as far as these things are concerned. They shouldn't just churn out the facts. And this happened at this time, it was a gun that was used or a knife that was, no, but also advocate for the cessation of some of these acts. So yes, that's what I can say about that.
All right, thank you. Let me go back to Sandra.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, all right. So the question we are asking is whether the way media covers these stories actually affect the rate at which they occur. Usually they try to emphasize on the fact that most of the headlines that we have here will be a man has killed a nagging wife, or a wife killed a cheating husband. Is the media giving us a reason enough to kill our husband? Are they normalizing the situation?
They're not normalizing it, but at the same time, they're not doing too much. When it comes to some of the headlines I actually read from Ghana or I see from Ghana, sometimes honestly I get upset, and I'm thinking, who in their right mind would write that? Okay, because some of the captions they give or the headlines they give has actually got no link with the story they've written. They said husband kills nagging wife, for example. You read the story and it says the husband came back late and the wife was upset. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with why the husband had the right to kill the woman. When it comes to saying that they're normalizing it, we can say that they don't have the right justification, because murder, whether it's wife or husband, there is absolutely no justification whatsoever to take another person's life. even though we have all the underlying factors and we have all the triggers and all that, but or mental state, but in actual sense, no one has a right to take anybody's life. So whether the wife was cheating or the wife was nagging or the husband was whatever, I think that if whatever body is overlooking these journalists should actually maybe take them through a series of seminars, let them know the impact of what they're writing is to the public. Because like you're saying, they might take it as face value. Oh, she just cheated, and so when the husband found out, he killed her. And you think it's justifiable because she was cheating, you have the right to take her life? Absolutely not. And so, in as much as they're not, they might, maybe the mindset behind it is not as it should be, or they need further education when it comes to abuse and these killings and the triggers and all that. Because for me personally, from where I stand, in as much as I do trainings on domestic abuse, it sometimes after training, okay, I feel drained even talking about abuse the whole day. I really feel drained because it is such a heavy thing on my heart. And so if the media can cover it a bit more, be a bit more sensitive, be a bit more informative, be a bit more educative, then I think the public will realize that there is no right, there is no justification whatsoever that a husband or a wife can kill each other. Absolutely no right.
All right, thank you. We go back to Anita to also share with us what she thinks.
Okay, yeah, so for the gender, for the media, what the media reports, yes, they are not doing the right thing. Well, I don't blame them as such or as much, because it is in the subconscious of most Ghanaians or Africans that when a man cheats or when a man does something, it's normal because he's the man. A man can cheat or can have many wives, but you, the woman, you can't cheat, you can't have many husbands. So it is the indoctrination from the religion and the culture. And so as such, the reporters themselves, because they don't have much insight into this topic or this area, they report it as such. And when they do, when you go under the comments on Facebook and the rest of them, you see that most men support spousal killing in a way. It's only a few from the comments, it's only a few that you always see that are against it. And this is just the kind, this tells you the kind of men we are breeding in the society. They don't see anything wrong when, because the woman cheated and she was killed. She cheated, so that is that justifies the killing. You get it? So it is not just them. It all starts from the indoctrination from our culture and religion. And as such, this whole thing has to start from the family unit. The right things has to be taught to the children, the males and the females. If not, this will continue. And because they see the women as the lesser or weaker sex, they feel that the men can do anything and we, the women, can't do, anything. And who tells you that women don't also need other men when they are married? Or don't they see other men that they want to sleep with or whatever? They do. But the men think they are the only ones that see other women when they are married. So that is a wrong perspective in the first place. And so I think it starts from the family unit, and this should be done wholly, not just one angle, like the gender ministry, like the church, the religion, the religious bodies, the schools, that's GES. In short, the whole, Ghana as a whole. a whole lot of work has to be done. If not, we'll just keep talking, and nothing will happen, because the reporters themselves sometimes, like the rape, they will say that, oh, maybe a 90-year-old, maybe 50-year-old man sleeps with maybe a 14-year-old girl. It is an assault. You get it? So the right choice of words to is another issue. And because they feel, they will tell you that, oh, she's 14, she's grown up. So telling you that the girls are bad, so they wanted it, so it's nothing. All these kind of things are bad. So far the person is not up to 18, it is wrong. Or is it 16? The sexual consent age is, I think, 16, right? So it is wrong. So it's a whole lot of issues, and I think a whole lot has to be done before this can be uprooted, let me say, from the root. Like we uproot the whole thing as a whole, uproot it so that it wouldn't be able to germinate again.
Exactly. All the stakeholders need to put their heads together.
And the gender ministry is not helping as well too, because they are not even doing, they are literally not doing anything.
You think so?
They are not helping at all. But I mean, what have they seen? I mean, what have they done? The woman has been on sabbatical leave or something like that, I think. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. Well,
all right, thank you, Anita. Thank you so much. We have a hand in the comment among the audience. Noah Fiadu Pogli. Yes. Please just unmute yourself and talk. If you have any question, you can ask. If you have any contribution.
Thank you. My name is Noah. I just want to make a few contributions. The first point I would like to raise is that sometimes it's not about cheating, or it's not about the issues that we get to hear in the media. Sometimes it's a compiled issues that is out of proportion. So what the media report may not necessarily be what has happened in the house. Yes, we have heard that, oh, this person, this woman has been killed by the husband because of cheating. But you go and you study the issue, or you follow the family history, or you follow the marriage history, you realize that there have been an existing issue, so many issues that have piled up among themselves, and they have not resolved it to the point that the only option open to the man or open to the woman at that time was to get rid of the woman, or the woman get rid of the man. So sometimes I would like us to encourage others to look at the full story before we come to conclusion up to whether what the man did is wrong or what the woman did is wrong. Then I also want to touch on the fact that when they have issues like that, who do they turn to? Okay, in our society, we have, or when it comes to marriage, we have systems and institutions that we have to go through to get married. So through the church, through the family, and what have you. But when they have issues in marriage, who do they turn to? Of course, they can turn to the church. Of course, they can go back to their family to resolve them. But not many of them have come to understanding, or not many of them understood the fact that there are mediation processes that they can resort to when they have issues in their marriage. Sometimes when they are in their homes, they think they can resolve it. Two people, they can resolve it among themselves. Oh, this is our marriage. It doesn't concern anyone out there. Yes, it doesn't concern anyone out there. But when there's existing conflict or existing misunderstanding that they are finding it difficult to resolve, who is there to resolve it for them? So because sometimes some of them don't know who should turn to, they keep it on their chest. And when they keep it on their chest for long, it comes out of something else. So me, I'm not supporting those who are killing their spouses, but I'm just trying to add that we have to look at the full story and also look at how some of those issues can be resolved, because the resolution aspect is very important.
So assuming we look at the full story, so because we look at the full story and the woman or the man is at fault, then it means the person can kill they can kill each other or what? I don't get it.
No, like I made a point that I'm not supporting those who.
But what you're saying, you are not supporting. But what you are saying indirectly says that so far there is a reason, then
Anita,
the person can kill the spouse.
Could you please allow
killing
me
is
to
a
land?
crime. Killing is a crime.
You have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Yeah, killing is a crime. So whoever commits crime, of course, the person must be punished. But I'm looking at the trajectory of the events that leads to someone taking someone's life. That's what I'm saying.
We don't need that. That is the point. We don't need that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for your submission. I think one thing I picked from it is when we have issues in the marriages, we need to talk to the people who can really help us to address such problems, but not keeping things to our chest. Eventually, one day it will explode and one will likely take the life of another person. All right. I think the next, all right. Now, where we are looking at how we've talked about what the situation is, what are the causes of the situation.
Hi, sorry.
Yes,
Anaya,
Anita.
What the Noah said, what he said, well, he made a point that yes, you should contact people that can help the marriage or whatever, fine. But the point is, no matter the reasons, just like I said, the reasons, they are not only one. Sometimes they build up. That is true. But no matter what it is, we don't need that family history of what the person has done to you. And that is why when it starts happening, you have to leave. If you know you can't take them. But what he's trying to say seems like it is justifiable if you know what the person has done. No, that is no. No. That is what most Ghanaian men have in their mind. No, that is what the way they think. And it's not even only men.
All right, Anita, thank you. I think
yes,
the point,
and we have to correct it. Yeah.
All right, I think the point he was trying to make was, if I understood him well, when we have a lot of marriages with a lot of issues that we don't talk about, maybe because the church does not encourage us to talk about it, or the society does not encourage us to talk about it. So the couple keep things to themselves to aggravate to the point that one cannot take it anymore. And that is when this issue of killings come in. He was not endorsing a husband killing a wife or a wife killing a husband. What he said was that when the issues start in the marriages, we need to find a way of handling them so that we don't get to the point whereby one will have to lose the other in that manner. I think he made his point. Whichever way, we are all entitled to our opinions, and we wouldn't want to stretch him so much or hold him tight to whatever he is saying here. All right, so we have talked about the causes of this menace. We have also talked about various stakeholders and their contribution to the whole issue. Now, what can we do as a family? What can we do as a society to arrest this problem? It's been happening in most homes, even in the churches and everywhere around us. What can we do in our own small way, being family setting or society, to arrest this issue? I would start with Dr. Bennett.
I just knew it.
You knew it. I'm on you. Forgive me.
No, you're good. I think for us as individuals, we have to try to identify some of these changes in people that are closer to us, right? Of course, if you're at a school-going age or you know, you're a university or college, whichever the case may be, somebody being absent from school for a number of days, or possibly out of 5 days, they show up once and stuff like that. That is a trigger to know that something is wrong. Also, in a work environment, if you know somebody that you work with, that is a possible trigger. Even if you don't work with them, you have friends that you talk to, and you have a hint of perhaps they're having some struggles in their marriages and stuff like that. Them not going to work, consistently or frequently, and when you speak with them and they begin to give you excuses, because let me tell you, Sandra talked about the battered woman syndrome, right? The stage 3, I believe, is the point where they've accepted that it's okay for them to be abused. And at that point, they continue to defend the abuser. So when they keep giving excuses and try to be defensive, on why things are happening, that is a red flag that you may want to probe more into. Injuries, right? So all of a sudden, a person start developing injuries, so to themselves. That is something that you may want to find out what's really happening. Like I said, if you know that person has been having some problems or some issues in their relationships, low self-esteem, all of a sudden a person that that was very confident, and they can just about say anything, just about be out there, and express themselves very, very well. All of a sudden, they have this very low self-esteem. They believe this is not for them. They cannot do it. It's not in them. They're not comfortable. Situations like that. Definitely, that's a red flag. People's countenance changes. Their personality changes, right? When people are going through such things. So again, we have to be cognizant of these things, and if you see someone having these kind of situations, and like I said, if you know somebody who's going through this and they have the fear of conflicts with their significant other, okay, sure, we will put on our cameras. Hey, this is me. I believe that also we have to look up for people that are scared of having conflicts, or even approaching their spousal abuser on situations and things happening. You can tell the moment you say to them, why don't you have a conversation with her? Or why don't you have a conversation with him? They become very startled and jump, like that. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want any problems. I don't want any issues. So that's something that definitely we need to look at. We also need to look at, right? People with passive aggressive behaviors, definitely we also have to look up for that. But I think the most important thing, people that always blame themselves, to say, I actually think that I am to blame for what happened, right? People in those kind of situations and relationships always begin to take the blame even when they're not at fault, right? So those are some of the triggers. I mean, isolating yourself from people. There's a plethora of them. I think I'll just leave them leave some for the other panelists to come up with them. But these are key things that really we want to look at that. But society as a whole, institutions also have a role and a responsibility to play in terms of helping with these things, right? We talk about education, and I believe somebody mentioned, I forgot who mentioned some of these institutions that has been set up in Ghana and maybe other countries, but they did mention that in Ghana, they're not doing a good job, right? So how can you, in your own way, impact and influence change, to bring awareness even to that particular institution in terms of how they can maybe switch course, change direction, so that their message out there and the things that they're doing were things that would directly impact, and root cause, actually, because we don't want to be putting plasters or what do you call it, short circuit, right? There's a problem with it. So we shouldn't be reactive. We should be more proactive, because we know these things are prevalent, right? They're happening every single day. I'll say, maybe, I don't know, Gabriel or Sandra might have these numbers. I would say maybe 4 or 5 out of 10 in the homes, these things are happening. So it's prevalent, it's happening, and it's on the rise, as Gabriel said. So if that's the case, why don't we be more proactive, right? To try to do more, versus waiting for something to happen and then somebody reports, and then we have to go through investigation and try to figure out who's at fault, and then the media also, touches on that. So I think that there's a lot more to do individually, collectively, as institutions of society and the country as a whole, and even in cultural institutions, because I think that they're not helping either. Faith-based institutions are not helping either, in these situations. And I would say that to some degree, they're the cause of all these spousal abuse and spousal killings, because they're preaching so much doctrines in terms of what the Bible or the Quran or the faith-based book is asking them to do, right? So they tell you, oh, Christians don't do this, so just stay, keep praying, but they forget that when God is blessing you, it comes through both spiritual and physical. The physical sense is telling you, Proverbs 6, it says wisdom, trust wisdom, it will protect you. So your wisdom should help you to say, no, I'm not staying here. I need to leave, I need to go. So these are the things they need to be preaching to people so they understand that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are so right. At times, the church forgets that we are human beings, and then they will tell you that, have you forgotten what the Bible is saying? They refuse to address the actual problem that you have brought to them. And then they remind you of the fact that the Bible says this. I mean, I keep saying that laws were made for humans, but not the other way around. Humans were not created for laws. So at a point where we have to bridge it to suit us, it's allowed. And I think the church and the other institution will have to do more. One thing that you said again also is the fact that people take blame when they are not supposed to. And this happened, I would want Sandra to take it from that angle. Usually women will take the blame, even when the husband has beaten them to the point of death. They will say, I caused it. I pushed him. I made him angry. They are giving the justification to why their husbands or their partners must, go ahead and beat them to death. I think Sandra will take it from that angle.
Okay. The reason why most women do that is because we have something called trauma bonding. So they've bonded with the trauma, they've bonded with the pain. Okay. And so when they do something and then the perpetrator will say, you see what you made me do? If you hadn't talked back, I wouldn't have slapped you. So over time, the mind tells them it is their fault. Trauma bonding is when they've bonded so much with the pain. 1 minute you're being beaten, the next minute it's like you trying to give a bone to a dog. Okay, so the next minute you're shushing this dog away, kicking it and all that. The next minute you're giving it a bone just to make it excited or to make it happy because it's your pet. All right. So these women, their minds now, listen, the mind is a very, very, very I want to use a word, interesting place. Okay, so when you're conditioned like that over time, the mind accepts it as it is okay. And then some of these women, the reason why they accept it is because society or where they come from has also made them to think like that. I sorry, I spoke to a lady, a Ghanaian lady. I think it was I don't know if any of my my mentee, Andrea is on. She's on my coaching site, and we were having a session where I had to go off because I had an emergency to deal with. Now, this girl was just beating black and blue by an ex-partner. Okay, and so the reason being that this girl has not been picking his phone calls and not returning his messages because she was doing it before when she was all in that trauma bonding stage. So when her mind has now said she deserves better and she's moving on, the perpetrator now thinks, how dare you? When I call, you have to pick up my call. When I'm this, and so when they're conditioned like that, it makes them accept responsibility for what is not their fault. And unless they are able to break away from that cycle, it would always be like that. And I've had situations where people have asked me if I'm a Christian. And so many times, even on the Real Talk platform, they ask, Sandra, are you a Christian? The reason being that I talk about if you're being abused, get out. I won't tell you to stay and being beaten to death. But when society have made you accept that in every relationship or in every marriage, there are issues, and a woman shouldn't talk back when a man is talking, a woman should be humble, a woman should know her place, a woman, even when you're being beaten, you accept it. Especially among the Kenyan community, it is accepted that if you're a man and you don't beat your woman, you are no man.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And so they kind of like, accept it as a norm. It is okay for me to beat my wife. And so they're conditioned like that. And in all fairness, trauma bonding is a very, very serious thing. And it takes a lot of reconditioning of the mind to get them to now know that I deserve better. I shouldn't be beaten today and being given chocolate tomorrow. This pattern will continue. And so as a society, we have a lot to do. And like I said, when I do the trainings, at the end of the day, I'm tired because some of the terminologies you even use, especially when it comes to dealing with the Ghanaian community, they haven't heard it before, and they think you are the worst enemy since time began. How can a woman say that you need to walk out of your marriage when you're being beaten? Why don't you sit down and pray? I'm sorry, like Danny said, God has given you wisdom. God has given you your mind to use. You don't sit down until somebody beats you black and blue before you know that you need to get out. Get out while there's still time. Okay. The reason why some of these women are even killed after they've left the relationship is because they were being stalked, they didn't leave properly, they didn't have a proper exit route. And so there's so many things, but and then they begin to think, I need to stay. If I leave this marriage, where am I going to go? Who's going to take care of my kids? But I will say it without fear or favor, your children should be the reason why you leave that abusive marriage. You should never stay because of your kids. You leave because of your kids. Even if it means going to sell water to get food to eat, you need to leave because of your kids. Don't stay because of them, because they're then being conditioned by their environment. Is it that they become the next perpetrator or they become the next victim? Conditioning of the mind. So from the word go, please, as a society, let's tell the women it is not acceptable for you to accept the blame for something you haven't done. It is not your fault to be beating. It is not your fault your husband is always upset or angry. And you know, one thing I think even Benny touched on it. When you are dating, do not ignore the red flags.
Exactly.
You're dating, he's upset with you, he's slapped you, he's kicked you, and you go ahead and married him because he apologized. I am sorry.
Buy you jewel.
Oh, geez. The first kick and you are out. You don't stay. You do not stay. Whether it's emotionally abusing you or he's physically abusing you or he's verbally, whatever form of abuse, you do not stay. Listen, I've got only girls. And so I'm training them to understand that no man has the right to hit you. No man has the right to coerce you. No man has the right to emotionally abuse you. No man. Absolutely not. And so mothers, we need to also do that. Sometimes the mothers are to be blamed. Oh, stay, apologize. I'm sorry. I'll come there and take my kid out.
Well, thank you so much. No woman will have to stay.
When it comes to talking about abuse.
So. No woman will have to stay because of the kids. I'm also speaking for the men. No man should stay because of the kids. If your wife is abusing you, get out of that relationship. One thing that you touch on that I'm so happy about is the fact that sometimes we don't do the background check. When you are dating, you need to pay extra attention to the other partner. We shouldn't overlook things and possibly think it's normal. When we are entering into the dating process too, we need to think about the people we say yes to. We need to also know their background. Let me share this experience with you. One time I went to Accra Mall, and then I was just sitting there. I was having a meeting. I was waiting for my other partners to come. And this gentleman walked in, and right there he sat on my table. And the first word was, "I like you." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "I said I like you." And then I realized the guy was not correct. So I walked out of that table. Then he left my table to another table where one beautiful lady was sitting. He went and sat on that same table and told the lady, "I like you." And I said, this guy is not correct. So apparently we all got up from our tables and left it for him. Supposing I was that desperate girl who is just looking for, a boyfriend, any guy who comes in, we say yes to. The moment this insane guy walks in and say, "I like you," you say, "I like you too," not knowing he's mad. At a certain point in your relationship or in your marriage, this is going to happen. The guy is obviously going to take it on you, and it won't be an interesting story to tell. So we need to really pay extra attention. Thank you so much for highlighting that point. Gabriel, do you think the church is the best place to go? Sandra, I think you want to say something.
No.
Sandra. Okay. Well, Gabriel, my question is, do you think that the church is the best place to go? The first place to go when we start experiencing this in our relationships?
Well, they say that religion is the opium of the masses. And Ghana being the country that it is, we have a lot of religious folks. In fact, I dare say that most women would rather seek counsel from the church than civil and legal counsel. They would rather go to the pastor, the elder, the imam, or whoever is the religious leader first than probably going to the police or seeking legal counsel. So when you have such a situation, it becomes very difficult to resolve such issues the right way. I do not believe that the church is the first point anyone who is in such a relationship should go to. Yes, it is one of the places you can go to, but it shouldn't be the first. First of all, if you are in an abusive relationship, you need to make a report to the police. Then you seek help, either psychological help or something like that. And to add to that, we need to also reform our civil and criminal legal frameworks such that it protects the women much more and also proposes very severe sanctions for perpetrators of these acts. If we are to strengthen women's civil rights, as it were, they would be better placed to understand what happens when I divorce, what happens to my kids in terms of custody, in terms of child support, in terms of the property. We need to enhance advocacy and education in these fields so that women get to know that when I decide to leave, I do not stand to lose my kids. I do not stand to lose my dignity or anything of that sort. When we're able to do that, it will help transform the mindset of depending solely on religious leaders when such issues occur. Then again, I think we also need to promote social and economic empowerment of women and girls, because a lot of the times, most of these abused women are economically dependent on the man. Is the case that, should I leave him, how am I going to survive? Family expectations from the extended family would definitely play a role in whether or not the woman decides to leave. Assuming a woman is married to a well-to-do man, he takes care of the woman and the extended family. Meanwhile, she is being abused in the home, which may ultimately lead to a spousal killing. Obviously, the family will definitely ensure that she stays in there just because of bread and butter issues. But if women are economically empowered and they know that once I leave, I'm not going to be dependent on this man. I'm not going to be dependent on the treats that he gives me. I can fend for myself. I can fend for my family. Then that's the way to go. Of course, the church plays a role. After all, you married in the church, but it should not be the first point of call. Because what they will do basically is to use the scriptures or whatever religious book that they use to cajole you to stay in the relationship and hoping and praying that things turn around. And when that happens, you have the whole violent cycle over and over again. You know, he beats you up, you have your makeup sex, there's this calm before another storm, and then it goes on and on and on. So the church has a role, but it shouldn't be the first point of call. Hello?
Oh, well, our host is not here. I think we can continue the conversations to sure she gets here, but I think
Sure.
Gabriel, you're
Oh,
right.
sorry, I think my speaker was on mute. All right, so Bright is saying that the church, which forms the larger society, needs to actually educate their church members to know how to settle with the right partner. I think it's a good point. All right, Anita, please, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, can we hear from you?
Okay. Sorry, the question again, yeah.
Okay, so the question we're asking is, after knowing the problem, the causes of these problems, and how stakeholders also contribute one way or the other, how best can we, in our own way, try to curb this menace, help to curb this menace?
Okay, yeah. So for these spousal killings or gender-based issues, I think the first thing is financial independence. And I think this is just the basic thing. It covers everything. Most women who stay in such situations or marriages or partnerships is mainly because of money. They don't have money. They don't have money to go to the court. They don't have money to sue. They don't have money to pay a lawyer. They don't have money to rent a house to go and live. They don't have, they can't feed if the man is not there.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, in quotes, useless to themselves, excuse me to say. So like nothing can be done if the man is not there. So the man is like the savior, and that is why they are always with such men.
So more or less you are preaching economic empowerment of the women.
Yes, so financial independence for the women. That is just the thing. Because and education anyway, because if their awareness is not there as well, the girls will tend to grow up and become, you know, dependent on the men as well. But when even if you are not educated, like I mean, in the classroom, you have a skill, it is a form of education, and you have your own job you are doing, which is a form of education as well, you know, you'll be able to, you can empower yourself, you can get some little money to feed yourself, to do your own thing, and no man can dictate to you. So, you know, because men as well too usually want women they can sort of control. So when you have the financial independence, they don't even want you as a wife or a partner in the first place. Men are like that.
Dr. Benny and Gabriel will speak to this.
Oh, you bet.
Men are like that. So naturally, they want someone that can, you know, be under them. That's head syndrome, and then the.
I think it would be better if you say some men are like that, not generalize it. Because some men really want their women to be very empowered. Yeah, because like my husband is my cheerleader. So let's say some men, not generalize it.
Yeah. Okay. So, but Sandra, it is most.
Yes, but let's just say some men.
Yeah, so yes, yes, some men. We shouldn't generalize it because there are still good men out there.
That's what I'm saying, most, but most. It's not some, because some, no, it looks like more like maybe a few of them. It is most, seriously. Seriously. At a point, fine. I'm not saying that There are, we don't have men that are cheerleaders of their wives and the rest of them. I mean, there are men that sponsor their wives to do PhDs, to get better jobs and all that. We help them to take care of the kids while they school and all that. You get it. But most of them, even those people, at a point, sometimes they get insecure. They get insecure at some
Let
point.
me jump on here, man.
But my whole point is, my whole point is for the women to know that they need to be financially independent, have their own jobs. They shouldn't resign.
90 seconds to wrap up.
They shouldn't resign their work or their jobs because a man said you should resign and sit at home, whilst because he's coming to get married to you, or because you are married and you have to take care of the kid, and then you resign your job while he's still working. And it's not as if you resign and he will be paying you monthly. No. So you have to look, as a woman, you have to look at your life critically. Sometimes you would think it is married, but there are some things you need to draw paper and pen and draw plans and let the person sign. Fine, he's your husband. You get it. But there's some certain, because later he will tell you, me na me kind, so me boy. Me now said it, but I'm not, I withdraw it. So there are some certain things, especially, I know the kind of men, especially with our African Ghanaian men. Let me just say African. There are some things when you are with them, you really have to be careful. That is just what I will say on that.
All right, thank you so much, Anita. Because of this gender dimension of it, I will possibly allow Dr. Benny and Gabriel to speak a bit on it, and then we wrap up.
Yes, for sure. Thanks. When we say when we say most men, I think that is a bit of a leap, because I don't know what most men represent, right? Is it just the population in Ghana? And even you look at the population in Ghana, Ghana has like what, 12, 13, whatever regions they are right now. Is this most number a representation of the total body, you know, of men in Ghana, not to talk of the world in itself? I believe that perhaps Anita is talking to situations that she's been privy to, right? And yes, in some cases, as Sandra alluded to, men want control, right? Some men, right? And these category of men, to be quite frankly, are not the well-mannered and well-cultured ones, to be honest with you, because if you're well-mannered and well-cultured and highly educated, not necessarily formally, it could be informal education as well. I mean, how beautiful is it for you as a man to support your woman, whether your girlfriend or whatever the case, your wife, whoever it is, right? If you're at that level, right? It's just beautiful to get them to get to the level where you are. And even if they surpass you, the glory in that is you help them, you held their hands to be able to do that. So I think this is more of a representation of the men who are, one, we talk about insecure men, and also for those who are not well-mannered and well-cultured from that perspective. Now, I know there are affluent men, like rich men, you know, who would rather want their wives or significant others to stay home because they believe they have enough money to do everything, you know, pay the bills, do everything. So there's no need for you as a woman to work, right? So stay home. But that's very dangerous, very, very dangerous. And then when we go back to education, when we talk about these institutions, women empowerment and all that kind of stuff, how are you able to empower these women to understand that every individual was created for a purpose and with a talent? So like Anita said, you have that talent. How are you using your talent, right? So looking at some of the red flags in relationships, right? You put your cards on the table, because when you put your cards on the table, be brave and put the cards on the table. Don't be afraid to lose that person if they decide to walk away, because at the end of the day, if they decide to walk away, hey, so be it. Because at the end of the day, if you get yourself into it, you have yourself to blame, because this person is going to suppress your growth, your development, right? Because they have all these tentacles, in and around you, and they want to control like a remote control. They flip it on, you act, they flip it off, then you have to stay mute, right? So it's red flags that you definitely need to watch that, and have those conversations. Because many times when people get into relationships, they don't really talk about those things. Honestly, they don't talk about those things. That's why sometimes all of a sudden people meet 2-3 months, they get married. And then 2-3 months after, they get divorced. They're having so many problems because some of these issues were not hashed out, right? Because we have to understand, before we meet people, we have our own dreams that we want to achieve, right? And just because you met somebody doesn't mean your dreams is buried, because both of you have dreams. So you share those dreams, and then you can support each other, on that particular journey. But to say that, I have the money, so I'm going to, foot for everything. You just stay home, watch the kids, and watch TV and call it a day. Do you think men will agree if a woman that earns way more than them says that to them? Do you think men will agree? That the woman says, hey, I bring home 80% of the income, so I just need you to stay home, watch the kids, do whatever you want, stay home. And men will never agree to that. So why should women agree to that? You understand? So again, it's part of that kind of education that we need to educate people. And Anita, you're right. I have seen them. I have witnessed some of them, right? But we have a role to play. We have a responsibility, as a society. I don't think we're doing a good job, on that. And I wanted to touch back on what Gabriel said about the church. Trust me, just because somebody's a minister doesn't mean they're a professional. Because some of these things, you need professional help. You understand? You need a job. And you go to the pastor, you say, pray for me so I can get the job. What do you mean? You don't even have a resume. You have not put your resume together, or CV, as they call it in some countries. You don't even have one. You stay at church and pray 24/7, waiting for God to throw the job from heaven to you. You're applying for the wrong jobs. You understand? So some of these things we have to be careful that the first thing that happens, we think we have to go to the church. No, some of these things are way above the head of the minister. And if these pastors will be truthful to you, when you go to them, they will tell you, all I can do for you is to pray with you, but I definitely suggest you meet a professional. But they never say that. They never tell people you meet a professional. Always come for counseling. And the more they counsel people, the more they get abused. The more they counsel, the more they get abused, honestly. And then when they come back with all the scars in their faces, oh, it's okay, God will see you through. Jesus was abused. No, what kind of foolishness is that? That's foolishness. You understand? So we have to be very careful. The little thing we have to throw and take it to church. Do you know what the big rumors are? It's in the church. Do you know that? Because you tell your story to somebody in church, they have a confidence. Even the pastor will tell somebody else. By the time you realize, next minute you walk into the church and everybody's looking at you.
Looking at you.
And laughing.
He will even use your case to preach.
So not all men will tell their women or their wives, stay home, I'll pay everything. If I ask you to wake up, you wake up. No, definitely not. Look, if I have billions and billions, I would never say that to my wife. Hell no, she's gonna work.
Thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this discussion. We actually have to wrap up, but maybe just two questions to Gabriel and then Sandra, and then we'll wrap up. Anita said that men really don't like independent women who are economically empowered, women who sound financially. Men will not go for them. Gabriel, is it true?
In my next life, I would go for an economically independent woman any day.
The daughter of Bill Gates, right?
I think the issue, that perception probably emanates from the fact that men have been, over the centuries, seen to play the dominant role. We are the alphas. We are supposed to be the ones that brings in the bucks. We are supposed to be the ones that take care of the home, that takes care of everyone. And so the buck must stop with us. However, in modern times, we have women who are economically empowered much more than men. Yes, some men who have low self-esteem would obviously be intimidated by independent women, and such men are plenty. However, I think that when women, or should I say some women, are in the position to earn more than their partners, more than their husbands, etc., there is the supposed tendency to rub it in the face of the man, especially if she plays a bigger part in the financial administration of the home. They tend to rub it in. The man's ego is deflated. And in such cases, the only way he can assert his manliness, the only way he can assert his controlling husband. But deep down in every man, they say, is a boy who is only yearning to be loved, yearning to be seen and heard, and also given room to operate as a man should. And so it's not really the case that men are afraid of independent women, etc. But sometimes the actions, both verbal, non-verbal actions of some of these women creates that situation where they get abused and become controlled by men. Hello.
Yeah, hello. I was wondering whether I have given Sandra the opportunity to talk as well. I mean, this third phase.
I think I kind of agree with what Gabriel said.
I can barely hear your voice.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Is it better now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Is it much better?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying that I kind of agree with what both Bernie and Gabriel have said. With the last bit that Gabriel said, that some of these women tend to rub it in the men's faces when it comes to they being financially independent. I've seen a lot, but I think that in any healthy marriage or in any healthy relationship, it doesn't matter who is bringing in the booty. As long as there's mutual respect and mutual understanding, you should be okay. When Anita was talking about some of these men being controlling and don't want women to be empowered, I've seen that as well. But what I also want us to know is that, like Bernie said, what are you doing to make yourself marketable, to make yourself walk in your purpose? What are you doing as a woman? Are you sitting down to say that I want a man that has got everything put together to come and marry me? Or I want a man that has got everything to date? You know,
When she herself doesn't even have a diploma.
Exactly. You know, and so these little things actually puts the victim in a position of not being empowered to walk away in situations where she should. Because if you have the empowerment, if you are financially independent to say, damn you, I can take care of myself and take care of my kids with or without you, you can walk away. I say to my kids that I know what I bring to the table. And so I'm not afraid to walk away if nobody eats it. I'm not afraid. If you know who you are, if you know your value, if you know your worth, whether you are a man or a woman, you do not settle for less than what you deserve. When you see the beginning of the relationship is not going right, you walk away. You don't stay and endure because I want to be married. And honestly, I think some of these young girls, especially when it comes to my African community, what I hear them say, they pray for marriage. They seek marriage. Marriage is not the ultimate. Trust me. Marriage is beautiful. if you have the right person, if you are in a healthy marriage, it is absolutely divine. But it is not the ultimate. The ultimate is you fulfilling your purpose and your destiny in life. So whilst you're praying, going to church 24/7, praying and fasting for God to give you a man, pray that God gives you the ability to walk in your purpose, the ability for you to accomplish the dream that you want to. You don't need to lose your individuality because you are in a relationship with somebody. No. Enjoy who you are, know your worth, know your value. And once you know all these, nobody can bring you down. If you are not in the position of taking care of yourself financially, like Anita said, if you are not empowered financially, it is so difficult because there's so many things you can't do. You can't even rent an apartment for you. You can't pay for your kid childcare. The little things that money can do. When somebody tells you money is bad, tell them Sandra says it's a lie. I love money, but trust me, not the kind of money that will lead me into trouble. But hey, when it comes to working for my money, I will work for it anytime, any day. I think it's just tiredness that have put me in this position because over the last couple of weeks, I've really worked my head off. And so I think my immune system is just broken down and then all this flu and just go hold of me. But there is nothing as being an independent woman, but be respectful as well. Respect is very important. Whether you are a man or you are a woman, respect is, even to your children, you need to respect. And so you don't need to rub your money in the face of a man because he is not in the position where you are. Thank God for that. Maybe God brought you two together to fulfill that kind of a purpose. So work together as a team and don't work against each other. And listen, if you can't respect the man that you're dating, no point in marrying him. Because anything that starts when you're dating, it only magnifies when you get married. And so when you're dating and he slaps you, when you get married, he's going to beat you black and blue. When you're dating and he's insulting you, when you get married, it's going to get worse. So if you can't respect the man you're dating, don't bother marrying him. Because when you get married to him, it's going to get worse. The disrespect is going to get worse. That is why you hear a lot of these men saying their wives are disrespectful. They were disrespectful when you were dating, but you overlooked it. Oh, I'm in love. Oh, she's lovely. Oh, she's got big bumps. She's got big breasts. My goodness, it's not. Being curvy is beautiful, but it is not the ultimate. It is not the ultimate. Ultimate, know who you are. Better yourself. Walk in your purpose. Walk in your individuality. Walk in the calling that God has for your life. And you will succeed. Whether you are a man or a woman, whether you're single, dating, or married. Guys, anyway, let me just leave it here.
And just to add to it, above all, when you see the red flags, you sing
Run.
Craig David's song.
Run.
I'm walking away.
Run.
Thank you so much. This is Tonayado Shivu. I think we are far behind time. Let me just give each of my panel members 20 seconds to possibly share their last words with us, and then we bring the show to an end. I'll start with Anita. 20 seconds, please. Let's take the time.
Hello? Hello?
Anita, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, repeat what you said.
What I'm saying is we are far behind time, and I just have to give you 20 seconds to wrap up. Please, let's stick to time. 20 seconds. What's your last words to your audience or our viewers?
Yeah, so we shouldn't ignore all the red flags we see in relationships. Whatever you see at the beginning is definitely what is going to happen where you are in. And we should always listen to your inner voice. I mean, you should have this is it intuition, as women have that, and most people should use it. They don't use it. You should. When something whispers to you, always know that you should stop at that point. And financial independence. I keep saying that. I'm a hustler. I don't have, but like you get it, you can't like, call the way the men do here in Ghana, because a whole lot of, excuse me to say, nonsense happens in relationships. People tell you their stories and you are like, wow. And so why are you still with this person? So, I mean, a whole lot of issues. So please and please be financially independent. Stop depending on the men alone, so that you yourself, you can make your own better choices. You can choose better men because you yourself, you are sound. So women, it is up to you as well. Well, for the men, yes, you too, you choose, make better choices, so that in the end, everything will be okay. Yeah, that is just it. Yeah. And divorce is not a sin, so always work out if needs be. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anita. The take home is be useful to yourself, to your family, and to whoever that is around you. Don't live at the mercy of man. Thank you so much. We go to Gabriel. No, Sandra.
Okay,
Hello.
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right. Okay, since we're talking about spousal murder, I would say my final words is, if you are in an abusive marriage, just leave. Don't stay until you're dead. Don't stay because of your kids. So who will take care of your kids when you die? Whether you are a man or you are a woman and you're in an abusive marriage, leave for your own safety and for your own sanity. Don't endure in the name of I'm in love. No, you are not in love. Please. And
Thank
if you
you. Thank you
think that
so much.
you can't leave, find help professionally. Let somebody help you.
All right. Thank you so much. Walk away when you have to. All right. Should we go to Gabriel?
Right. So the only person who is reported to have died for love probably died over 2,000 years ago. No man, no woman should die out of love or because of love, whether love for the man or love for the woman. As a result of that, you end up 6 feet under. You don't deserve it. So once you see the red flags, once you're in the abusive relationship, like has always been said, you walk out. But above all, treat your man right, treat your woman right, and speak up when you're being abused. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Treat him right. Treat her right. I think we've all gotten it. Lastly, we come to Dr. Benny, and then we wrap up.
I believe it's everybody has actually nailed it and said it all. I believe that we have to always get to the bottom, the root cause, of these things, and it stems from individual responsibility from parents. You understand, because this spousal abuse or spousal killings does not only happen to people when they're married. I'm talking in the broader sense, because the root cause of it, because somebody has to be abused to get to the point where they decide they want to take an action. So let's not put band-aids on these things. Let's not be reactive. We need to be proactive, put measures in place, do more education. I think we do more education, and like Gabriel said, I agree. Reform these laws, that are meted out to people. And if society and institutions will be very strict and apply the laws as they should, regardless of a person's stature in society, that would be good, because many a times you find people that are the actual perpetrators, and because of their stature in society, because they are this person or they are that person, it's brushed under the carpet and it goes away. I don't want to make mentions of some of them I've heard in Ghana, but I think that if the law is there, they have to enforce the law, right? It doesn't have to be individualistic. That's not how the law was made. You understand? Nobody's above the law. we're all below the law, and where we need to mete out punishment or punitive actions to people who are misbehaving. But I think that we can do a better job as individuals in whatever circles or corners that we find ourselves to continue the education. Institutions needs to do that. If we believe that we have institutions that whose objectives, whose strategies, whose goals are not aligned in, tackling some of these issues, what can't we do? What are some of the conversations we can begin? We can start to draw their attention, to crave their indulgence, for them to have a better understanding that, look, you maybe looking at things at a high level, but at the lower level, these are some of the things that are happening. Maybe you should consider it. Maybe you should look at these things, because it's not new that Gabriel says that the number is increasing, at a rapid rate. And if that's the case, and the number of killings that have been reported, what are we doing? Are we just talking about it and trying to find out who the perpetrator is, met up punitive actions to them and leave it there? It does not leave there. It's an end-to-end process that we have to follow. Let's get to the root cause. Stop it at the very beginning. Try to stop it or curtail it at the very beginning. Let's look at individuals. Do we have enough centers to counsel people? Do we have enough places where people can go willingly and freely for help? Do individuals trust the systems? Do they trust the institutions to go there to ask for help? I believe people want to go for help. That's why most people go to churches, because they trust that kind of institutions. Other institutions, they don't, because of stigma, right? Stigma, because when you go to such places, everybody will know you have a problem, you have an issue, that's why you came there, and people look at you differently. So how can we build institutions and systems that people can trust? Because if they cannot trust, they will not go there for help. And that's why they're going to continue to keep these things with them, and being continued battered and get to the point they'll be like, look, I'm taking the law into my own hands, I'm clipping you. So I'm done. Thank you. You're muted. You're muted.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, thank you so much. It's been an interesting show. I'm particularly happy about some of the issues that were discussed here. You just said something, the gender ministries. In fact, one thing that we have to emphasize is that the gender ministry is not only there for women. The social welfare is not only there for women. Everybody has a right to go there when they face one issue or the other. When there is issue in the family, we need to also find appropriate quarters to talk about it so that we can solve it before it gets out of hand. Next week, we're going to discuss another interesting topic, which borders on mothers-in-laws, overbearing mothers-in-laws. How do we handle them? And I think it's going to be as interesting as we have this evening. We encourage all to follow our social media handles so that we can all have interesting discussions. So I thank you so much, Sandra. I thank you, Anita, Dr. Benny, Gabriel. Wilson unfortunately couldn't join again because of the network issues. We look forward to having him next week when we are having the show. So once again, thank you. If we don't have any other thing to possibly share, maybe we will have to end the show here and prepare for next week.
It's been an awesome encounter. See you all next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a lovely week.
Thank you, Sandra.
And enjoy your Christmas.
Bye, guys. Take care of
Am I even
yourself.
feeling the Christmas?
Hey, you better start, please.
It's Christmas.
I know, with Omicron on hanging on our neck. But
Yeah,
hey,
I see it.
we still have life. Bernie, have a good week. Gabriel, have a good week. Anita, have a good week. Andrea, I'll see you on the other side. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Take care of yourself.
As well. Thank you so much.